Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Aquarius energy, and we're going to read it kind of from a couple different perspectives because it's a general reading. Everybody's at different emotional maturity levels. We all have our more hopeful, believing, loving nature, but we also have our more fearful, insecure, defensive, codependent, whatever shadowy type of nature we might have. And we're going to handle this energy differently. Life's about learning lessons, tempering our more worldly, egoic nature of being more about ourselves and working together with people cooperatively from love. And love is where you're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And some people still have a problem with that. And so they're going to be taking different action in their life because of where they're at in their life. Just like we took different actions in our life when we were kind of younger, then we're taking maybe action in our life now. But, we kind of realize as we get older that we can meet people that are the same age as us, but they can be more like a 15 or an 18-year-old or a 21-year-old in their kind of thinking, logic, and reasoning. And we just need to see the truth of it. Shadowy energy can be where we want to stay in denial of the truth. We can always hope other people will change. People can change. We can be a loving and encouraging person in their life, but maybe before we get in a more involved relationship with them, we wait to see if they change, right? And if they don't, we wish them peace and we move on. So, I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading. It's the Queen of Wands. The way I read tarot, so you can apply it to everyone in your life, is that the queens can represent how we think and feel. The masculine figures can represent how we're presenting ourselves in the world and action we're taking in the world. And anybody can present themselves in the world any way they want. Aquarius energy can be where people are like, I look at life from a higher perspective. I'm not more about myself. I'm not more about the world. I'm not more about my ego or my image. That isn't the driving factor in my life. It's love. And for some people, that's not the truth of who they are. In our Leo energy, we're either more driven by ego, which can be a lot of things: fear, insecurity, lust, greed, pride, ego, laziness, codependency, status, ego, image. Or in high vibe Leo energy, we really are who we say we are. And we've either been illuminated to the truth and gotten out of our ego about the fact that people are kind of who they say they are. And we quit trying to change people. I wish you peace and love. Do I want to get in a more involved relationship with you? No. Or we're in our ego. Oh no, I can change them. I'm sure they'll grow up. They'll change. They'll mature themselves. And we can do that if we want. We have the free will. At the end of the story, we have the Seven of Swords, which is Aquarius energy. In shadow, the Seven of Swords is, I want to stay in denial of the truth. And I want a dream to come into reality, so I'm going to stay in denial of the truth, and I'm going to keep moving forward the way I'm moving forward, and with the people in my life I might be moving forward with, or maybe try to go deceive and manipulate someone else. Or I am just more about myself. In high vibe, the Seven of Swords is, I have been illuminated to the truth, no more in denial about the truth. And I'm going to listen to my intuition. If my intuition tells me that some people operate more from their egoic nature, I'm going to move on from them and keep my distance from them. And we've all got lessons to learn about listening to our intuition, because in our pride and ego, we can think, we can change people. Other people have been illuminated to the truth. I can only offer people love and encouragement and be a loving, supportive, encouraging person in their life. If they don't make the free will choice within themselves to do the work they need to do to free themselves from things that manipulate them and people that manipulate them and whatever it is that manipulates them, I'm staying in denial of the truth. So, what's going on in Aquarius energy? We have the Page of Wands, and the reason is because of the Six of Cups. We all, in the Page of Wands, we could want to have these new beginnings, or motivated, we're inspired, and the Six of Cups can be the, as human beings, we want to be in a relationship with people. And that's what the Six of Cups can represent. But some people are kind of immature. And they want to be in relationships with people to be in relationships with people. The Six of Cups is Scorpio energy, emotional water sign energy. Shadowy fire sign energy can be, I just want to indulge in a relationship. High vibe people want to be in deep, meaningful relationships. And sometimes we get in more mismatched relationships, right? And some people, all of us, all the time, we have all these different people in our life, people in our neighborhood, people in our family, people in our workplace, people in our friend group. Some of those people, we could like them and we can enjoy their company, but we might acknowledge to each other. The Queen of Wands, represented by Leo, is also represented by the Sun. There's some people in our life, I can enjoy their company, they can enjoy my company. We can work together cooperatively, but we know that, we live our life differently. We're kind of driven and motivated by different things. We have different dreams and aspirations. For a lot of people in our life, it's not a big deal. Yeah, you like going and doing that, and you like to live your life like that. I like to enjoy doing this, and I like to live my life like that. With most people, it's not a big deal. You do you, I do me. We both know that we kind of harness these energies a little differently. And kind of what drives and motivates us is different, but we can still get along and work together. But the problem is, and probably why the reason people come to tarot, is because there's some people in our life that we really would like to work together with them more cooperatively. We want a dream to come into reality with them. But maybe the people who come to tarot are people more who are motivated and inspired by love. And they're trying to figure out why some of the people in their life don't seem to be motivated and inspired by those same things. And it can be because we harness these energies differently. And some people are just getting into workplaces, friendships, and relationships with people, and is trying to get to know each other. The pages can be these small gestures to get to know people in order to kind of learn more about them, to see beneath the surface and things that you don't see, to kind of try to find out, are we kind of motivated and inspired by the same things? Do we kind of have the same truth, or do we not, right? But generally what can happen is we get in relationships with people, and with some of the people in our life, we don't realize that we harness these energies differently. One person can harness them in a more hopeful, believing way, a high vibrational way, and the other person can be hiding that they harness them in a more shadowy way. The thing is, if there are people that the Six of Cups can talk about, there's some commonality, because the Six of Cups can talk about kind of repeating a pattern of the past. You remind me of people that I used to know. You kind of have ways about you that are kind of in my comfort zone. And we could have some similar life experiences that and we could have similar interests, and way of interacting with people that, there's a lot of things we can enjoy about certain relationships with people, but maybe not until later in the relationship, that we start to realize that these things that we kind of view a little differently of what motivates and inspires us and how we want to move forward in our life and our idea of the dream relationship or how we envision our future, our truth is different. Some people have already figured that out. They've already detached from some of the people in their life that, but we'll get there. But it's kind of a process, right? So people could be moving forward in relationships with people. The people who have been enlightened to the truth know that some people aren't who they present themselves as. And they're listening to their intuition. They know that some people harness these energies in a shadowy way. But they're willing, I can work together with people. Are you more immature? Yeah. Can I work with you? Yes. Are you more bossy and controlling? Yes. Can I work together with you? Yes. We kind of got to work together with some people just where they're at, right? So anyway, let's go see what these 4 cards are. The Wheel of Fortune, the Knight of Swords, the Star, which is Aquarius energy, and the 9 of Pentacles. And the Page of Wands, being fire sign energy, can just be that, we want a dream to come into reality. Could be that we're working together with people in a workplace. We want to have a friendship group. We want to be in relationships with people. Other people want those same things, right? It's just that with some of the people that we could be working with, we harness these energies differently. Are we someone who's kind of willing to go with the flow and be inspired to work together with people more cooperatively? Are we kind of motivated to work together cooperatively to bring this dream into reality? And kind of in the 9 of Pentacles, kind of put in work and effort, working cooperatively to bring that dream into reality. The people who do that, regardless of what motivates and drives them to a degree and what their ultimate goals and ambitions are in life, a lot of people can work together cooperatively because they kind of have this common goal in the Star card. I might work with a lot of different people who might be really different than me. Can we all work together? Kind of, the Knight of Swords is kind of sent by the King and Queen of Swords, which the Queen of Swords I view as Aquarius energy. The King of Swords is to have balance and justice and fairness. Can we all work together to do that? And in the 9 of Pentacles, can we respect each other as their own individuals? Yeah. There's a lot of people we can work with, and it's not a problem. More of the problem comes up with people who, they kind of harness that energy in a more shadowy way, which can be, I want to move forward in this, but I'm kind of more defensive to that dream. And shadowy Aquarius can be that I have these ways of being that could be kind of immature and that could be more about me, where I think I should kind of be a little more indulged in this situation. They indulge their more immature ways of being, and then they want to move forward, continuing to indulge their more immature way of being. And their idea of what's just and fair is for other people, in turn, to indulge them in these more immature ways of being. And some other people can have a problem with that. It's like, we either work cooperatively for this common goal. In a typical Star Aquarius card, you kind of have the bigger star, and then you have the 6 little stars around it. which is a total of 7, and the 7s can be a transition point, a conflict point. The 6s can talk about working together cooperatively. Are we willing to work cooperatively? This is a 6 of Cups for this common goal. And some people are like, well, I want to stay in this and I want to keep moving forward in it. But some people just kind of think that they should be a little bit more indulged in it. And you know, when other people are like that, some other people, the 9 of Pentacles, can talk about that other people want to become independent of that person. They might want to move forward with us in that way, but we don't really want to work with them. Now, from an opposite perspective, people can work with people, and maybe everyone is a little bit more aligned with kind of being more about kind of ego or image or shadowy energy, being manipulative, being controlling, kind of being immature, and in the 6 of Cups, repeating some poor past patterns. And if someone comes into that situation and that person kind of looks at life a little differently and they are more independent, that's what high vibe 9 of Pentacles can talk about. That isn't how they live their life anymore. I've already been there. I've already done that. I've already dealt with people who are like that. I really don't want to go back to being in that type of a relationship dynamic. Well, the people who are more immature and keep repeating a certain way of being and interacting with each other cannot kind of like that other people aren't kind of playing that game with them and acting that way. You know, if we're more, say we're bossy and controlling people, or bullies, or gossipy, or whatever we could be, and whatever you would think is some feminine stereotypical shadowy ways of being and some typical stereotypical male ways of being. If they work with people who kind of go along with that way of being, to have someone come in who, oh my gosh, I had no idea when I could have taken this job or joined this friendship or got in this relationship and these other people. I had no idea that I didn't realize, I wasn't illuminated to the truth that they kind of have these ways of viewing life that they think is the ideal way to live life. And shadowy Scorpio can be that I find it kind of superficial and shallow, or in the Page of Wands, I kind of find it immature. And then, you know, eventually as we go through the relationship, the more superficial, shallow people and who kind of want to repeat this way of interacting with each other, they don't like having someone who is more authentic, who has kind of learned some lessons in life that don't want to and aren't engaging in that way of interacting with them. And we all like to hang out with people who kind of live life the way we live life, right? So there could be some people right now that, just like some of the high vibe people, kind of distance themselves and kind of cut some of the people out of their life that they felt harnessed. A more the Knight of Swords is Gemini energy, about that their truth and how they view life and how they want to move forward in life. Their kind of truth and their idea of the dream life is kind of different than mine, and I could feel like they are more superficial and shallow, more about themselves, more about the world, more about ego and image, and that's how they define their worth and value. And I could find that I don't feel that they harness high vibe Leo energy. They're not very authentic or warm or loving. I kind of find them as being a little deceptive and deceitful. They might try to present themselves as people who are like that, but they're really not. So some high vibe people have already moved on from some people like that. They have kind of did what they had to do to work through why they would have even been drawn and attracted to people like that. So they don't get in relationships with people like that. And some of the people they detach from, those people are trying to get in relationships with people who are more on the same page as them. They might be kind of hiding the fact that, I did have some people who were more authentic and loving and independent, but we kind of like to make our life more about living more from our mind than our heart, a little bit more about our ego and our image, or being defensive, being a little more superficial, and we kind of cut those people out of our life, right? So shadowy people are trying to hide the truth of who they are, basically, and high vibe people have dealt with the truth. So then we have the Ten of Cups, the Eight of Swords, the Three of Swords, and the Lover's card. And then we have the Queen of Swords, which I view as Aquarius energy. I think when we keep repeating a pattern of the past, and again, we'll keep repeating a pattern of the past until we're willing to deal with the truth of why don't we in the Ten of Cups align with our more hopeful, believing, loving nature? The Eight of Swords and the Lover's card is Gemini energy about our dualistic nature. The Three of Swords is kind of like, instead of being stuck, we pick a path. I have my dualistic nature. I choose to align with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature, or I choose to be more about myself, or looking to something else other than love to make me feel better and be the answer to my problems. And we've all been there. We all have had lessons to learn. And we've all been more caught up in the world and more inspired by the world and want to be in relationships, and we want to manifest these things in the world that we think will make us happy and live in the dream life. Some people already did that and they kind of felt betrayed. They kind of bought into the illusion of the world that said, make your life about these things, you'll be happy. But the thing was, they maybe didn't listen to their more intuitive, creative, inspired nature to live their more authentic life. They kind of made their life a little bit more about these things of the world. And then as time went by, making their life a little bit more about those things of the world that they thought was living the dream and they'd be happy, they kind of found themselves in a mental prison, a little bit heartbroken. But there could be people in their life that they have love for. Sometimes we didn't want to see the truth. That can be the Eight of Swords and the Three of Swords. Between the Eight and the Three of Swords is the Five of Swords. I have mental conflict about the truth. I could have hope and faith and belief and love, but I could get in relationships with people who don't have hope and faith and belief and love. Or their idea of the dream life is to be more about them or these things of the world, or just to be in a relationship to be in a relationship. We should be happy in the Six of Cups. We're in a relationship, or you have a job. If it's about jobs. It's like, but I wanted to be in jobs and friendships and relationships with people that were more motivated and inspired by love. And I could have got myself in job friendships and relationships with people who harness these energies in a more worldly, shadowy way, where they could be defensive to love, they could be defensive to listening to their intuition and taking action in truth and love and justice and fairness and having hope and faith and belief and love, because Their truth could be that they're happy living more from their mind than their heart because they have mental conflict about love and maybe being more just and fair because just like us, we've been in situations before, and the Queen of Swords, again, can talk about feeling betrayed, and they haven't worked through that past betrayal and pain and heartbreak, if they had it, you know, and so it can just be, I want to be in a relationship, kind of indulge myself in a relationship. I felt betrayed. I'm kind of in a mental prison. I'm heartbroken. I have an idea. Let's get in a different job, friendship, or relationship. But maybe more out of defensiveness or anger or feeling betrayed. You know, our more shadowy nature can be represented by the devil at the big picture. I want to feel better. Fiery energy. I want to go indulge in something, and I might be repeating some poor past patterns. I want to go indulge in whatever I go indulge in to make myself feel better. But that's not the truth. Those things, you know, the devil is about short term gratification, right? To make us feel better. But it's not the truth. It's not the answer. And so we can go indulge in those things to try to make ourselves feel better. And then we end up kind of feeling confused and heartbroken because we weren't willing to see the truth that I should have taken action out of love for myself and for others. And I shouldn't have done some certain things, maybe just to make myself feel better, but life's just all about learning these lessons. And if we're willing to see the truth of it, high vibe Aquarius can be about healing. And I particularly view high vibe Leo as about healing because it's represented by the sun energy. I choose to offer myself love and compassion and forgiveness for me being a fallible human being who had lessons to learn. Offer love and compassion and forgiveness to other people in my life who had their own lessons to learn. Some of them learned them, some of them didn't. But I'm not going to keep staying up in my head and heartbroken that some of the people in my life who I wished were more just or fair or authentic or loving or working together with me more cooperatively, that they didn't. They all have their free will, just like I've had free will in my life to decide how to act or react or behave. And I'm going to deal with the truth. Does it kind of get me up in my head if there's people in the Ten of Cups energy, people who I wanted to be in long-term relationships or friendships with, that seem to be defensive to love? Yeah, and I could stay there and I could keep feeling betrayed and defensive. Or from the 8 down to the 3, I can kind of be inspired to see the truth in the Knight of Swords, look at life from a higher perspective, offer truth and love to myself, to keep believing in myself and believing in my dreams. My dreams aren't codependent on certain people. My dreams are codependent on working together with other people who are motivated and inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness. And can it be sad that some of the people that we would like to move forward with in our life in that type of energy aren't in that type of energy? Yeah. But to a degree, we've all been there. We've all been more immature. We've all been more defensive. All been more caught up in ourself or whatever, right? And so we deal with the truth of it. And then in the Three of Swords, from the 8 to the 3, I'm going to work through my mental conflict about that everybody at every stage of life had the opportunity and the free will to work through their own mental conflict and choose love. Shadowy Ten of Cups can be where people kind of align with thinking they'll be happy, being more about themselves or more about things they indulge in, or more about the world. And they can be more caught up in those things. And some people, we have to accept the truth that they're happy being in relationships with other people, right? And could they be kind of up in their head and a little heartbroken because there could have been people in their life that they wanted to have a relationship work out, but for some reason at some point in time when everybody could have been a little more immature and doing whatever they were doing, and then those relationships didn't work out, we meet other people and those relationships do work out. And the whole thing about having in Gemini energy free will, that there are consequences to our actions, and if we were more immature at one point in time, some other people could have moved on from us. When we were in relationships with people and some of those people were more immature or whatever, we could have moved on from them. And then we worked through that mental conflict, and the high vibe people still have hope and faith and belief and love. And if they meet someone else who's went through similar situations, and those people have worked through that mental conflict, that relationship didn't work out, and I am ready from love, having worked through those issues from my past, to move forward in a new relationship, we move forward in that new relationship. Can we be sad still that some of those relationships didn't work out? What if we move forward in a new relationship and then someone who was at whatever stage of life they were in communicates with us in the Six of Cups? Could be that they want to reunite. Well, that could put some people up in their head. And then people have to think about, what is the state of relationship I'm in? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why are people in relationship with me? And why do people want to be in relationship with me? Is it truth and love? Did it seem logical and practical? Was it because we were heartbroken? Was it because we wanted to feel better? Was it because we wanted to be in a relationship? We didn't want to be single? That's what the Nine of Pentacles can talk about. And it might cause other people to, and you, depending on where you're at in the story, to think about it. But I think high vibe people listen to their intuition, work through their mental conflict. If the people in their life are loving and just and fair and encouraging and supportive, over here we have the Ace of Pentacles and the Ace of Cups. Why? Because of the Queen of Wands. Shadowy energy, which can be over here, our more immature nature wanting to repeat patterns of the past, it's always there. Our shadow nature is always tempting us to, don't go do that, let's go do this instead. And then there's always going to be people in the world that appeal to our more shadowy nature. We just have to listen to our intuition about who's who. Is it the people we're currently in a relationship with? Are they the people who want us to move forward with them, but they could be being more deceptive and manipulative and operating from their ego? Tempting us more with things of the world that we love, indulging us, willing to indulge us, or want us to indulge them for these things of the world. If some people realize they could have gotten in a new beginning, could have been happy, but as time went by, if they started to feel that, I think our dreams are different. I think that they're driven and motivated by other things. Some of those people are going to let those people move forward in their life, and I'm not going with you. I need to take some time to really think about my truth. And if there's people in their life who they think, the Seven of Swords in shadow, can be that people are being kind of deceptive and manipulative, they might not move forward with those people. And they would also look at within themselves what drew me and attracted to being in a relationship with these people to begin with. Was I more caught up in these things of the world? Was I doing what was more seemed practical and logical? Do I know my worth and value? Am I more independent and feeling more stable and grounded within myself, or do I not? And is that why I might get in a relationship, right? But I don't want to be in a relationship with people who I think in shadow are trying to emotionally manipulate me because I don't know my worth and value, or I am a very loving, giving person. And I could think between the 8 and the 3 is the 5 of Swords, thinking other people will change, but as I move forward with them in relationship, I see they don't change. And they want to keep moving forward the way they move forward. And I had hope and faith and belief that maybe they would grow up or mature themselves or temper their ego or grow and mature themselves or be more independent or quit being more codependent. And they're not. I need to take some time to work through my mental conflict, and maybe the 3 of Swords in Libra energy represented by the scales of justice. I might have got myself in a more imbalanced relationship, and I might have been more imbalanced, and I need to get kind of balanced within myself from a place of love and make sure that if I'm going to invest and move forward with something, that I am doing it from being illuminated to the truth, having hope and faith and belief and love, not making a decision out of fear, insecurity, or pride or ego, not staying in denial of the truth. And some people might be at a point in a relationship where they are kind of ready to make an offer to people to move forward a little differently, to bring a dream into reality. And the people in their life are going to have to decide, do I think this person is making this offer for the right reasons, or are they more driven and motivated by fear, insecurity, don't want to be single, want to be in a relationship to be in a relationship, it'd be good for their ego and image, maybe make them look victorious and successful. Shadowy Leo energy can be more competitive energy, like trying to keep up with other people more out of competitive reasons or egoic reasons. Is it love? Are we invested in love, or is it more out of ego? Who am I going? What is my truth? What drives and motivates me? What drives and motivates the other people? And if it's truth and love and justice and fairness, then they're going to listen to their intuition and they're going to move forward in that. Some shadowy people are kind of immature. They get up in their head, fearful of trusting and believing in themselves, believing in others, believing in love, but they want to be in relationships. It's good for their ego and image, and they like to indulge themselves in relationships. Some of those people could also be making offers to people to get in a relationship, move something forward, but they are being deceptive and manipulative. Are we going to listen to our intuition or make a decision more out of fear and insecurity? For other people, they cut some people out of their life that they knew were kind of being deceptive and manipulative. They are listening to their intuition. They are having these new beginnings in their life, investing in loving and believing in themselves, giving themselves the things that they wish other people would have given them. And they're taking action inspired in their fire sign energy to make peace with the past. I accept the past is what it was. I see my dreams can't come into reality with some of those people. And I'm going to be bold and brave and confident to keep moving forward, believing in myself, believing in my dreams. And as I move forward in life, I'm going to offer truth and love to other people. If my intuition tells me that some of the people that I interact with kind of might be a little more deceptive, manipulative, prideful, egotistical, immature, whatever, yeah, I'm going to move on from them. And I'm going to focus more of my time and attention on the people who I think are more motivated and inspired to work together with me in a just and fair way. And the people in the world, because there's always going to be shadowy people in the world, in our communities, in our workplaces, and some of the people who thought, well, I don't know if I should try to deceive and manipulate this person and maybe act in defensive ways or hurtful ways or whatever, egotistical ways, stubborn ways, whatever. Some of those people did that, hoping that maybe because you're a loving, encouraging person, you'd feel betrayed, like, I don't understand why this person is acting this way, and I'm going to keep trying to offer them love and encouragement to get them to work with me more cooperatively. And sometimes that's what shadowy people do. I want you not to see the truth of who I am. And I want you to view life this way, and I want you to keep indulging me. It's a waste of your time and energy because I've already shown you the truth that I don't work together with people in a just and fair and more authentic way. But if you don't see the truth of it, yeah, let's hang out, let's be friends. I'll keep acting this way, and you keep trying to change me. And some people are at that stage of life, and other people are like, I am so tired of all the different people I've met in my life who are, and that's kind of the challenge we have to go through to close out a cycle. The Ace of Pentacles and the Ace of Cups and the Queen of Wands holding the one wand and the Queen of Swords holding the one sword. It's like trial after tribulation, trial after tribulation. It can be a friend, it can be a family member, then it can be a parent, then it can be a work person. It's all these trials and tribulations. Have you learned your lesson? Or are you kind of still in your ego, trying to get other people to change and work together with you more cooperatively in truth and love? Or have you gotten out of your ego and accepted the truth? Oh, you're kind of defensive to working together with people more cooperatively in a just and fair way. I see it. Okay. I am not going to try to change other people. All I can do in high vibrational energy is offer people truth and love to work with them authentically. And if they are defensive to that, I wish you peace and I move on. Can I still know you in my community? Can I still know you in my workplace? Can I still have you in my family? Yeah. Do I want to spend more time and energy investing in you? No. Can I keep acting in my truth and keep being a loving and encouraging person when I'm around you? Yeah, so long as you treat me in a just and fair way. Otherwise, no. Because that's unjust and unfair. But I'm going to stay in my truth and in being motivated and inspired by love. I'm not going to let people who are shadowy deceive me and get me in shadowy energy and make me feel betrayed and get me up in my head and make me feel heartbroken because I have love for them. I just accept the truth that you are where you're at and you got some lessons to learn. And I wish you peace and love, but I'm moving on. And I'm going to go invest my time, energy, and effort into some people who do work together with me in a more high vibrational way. And yeah, some of those people are going to be mad because that is how they like to interact with people. And they could think, that you're not supposed to see the truth about people like them. You're supposed to keep being loving and encouraging and supportive. Some people don't think they need to be loving and encouraging and supportive within themselves to heal and grow and mature themselves. No, I just go get in a relationship with someone who's that way. That's like their job. And I get to keep repeating these old patterns of whatever shadowy ways of being. And I just look to get in a relationship with someone who's like that, who doesn't want to see the truth of who I am. That's my idea of the dream life. I get to be a shadowy person who gets to be in a relationship with a loving and encouraging person who thinks one day I'll change, but I'm not ever planning to change. This is my idea of the dream life. And until the high vibe people wake up and say, if you are motivated and inspired to be that type of person, you'd already be that type of person. And I'm going to quit deceiving myself. And I'm going to accept the truth that not everybody is motivated to work together with people in a more authentic, just, fair, and loving way. And that is their free will right. But that's not my truth. And I wish you peace, and I'm moving on. And then those people feel betrayed that you're not willing to indulge them in their more shadowy ways of being. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Aquarius energy that they might not see coming? We have 3 cards not showing themselves, and the reason they came out is because of the 5 of Swords, which is Aquarius energy. I had a new beginning in the Ace of Swords. I could have been listening to my intuition, had hope and faith and belief. Then I was heartbroken. In the 4 of Swords, I meditated on the truth. And in the 5 of Swords, I'm taking action on my truth. I offered truth and love to myself and the situation and the other people to work together with me to move forward in truth and love, in justice and fairness. And those people weren't willing to do that. And I realized the only person I could change was me. So I chose to change me. I looked at it. What was it within me that would make me keep staying in that relationship? Maybe because of my fear of letting go of that dream and investing in loving and believing in myself and believing in my dream and realizing my dream can't come into reality here. And I worked through all of those issues, maybe some issues from my past, looking at life from a higher perspective, knowing my worth and value, choosing to align with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature, offering other people truth and love, and seeing that ultimately that's not what some people are motivated and inspired by, and that's not how they want to move forward. And because of that, it helped you work through letting go of harnessing these energies in a more shadowy way. And then when you don't align with these energies in a more shadowy way, you don't align with anymore the people in your life who harness these energies in a more shadowy way. The Queen of Wands, the Ten of Cups, and the Two of Cups, which can just be that in our free will, the Queen of Wands and the Queen of Wands, we have the free will to align with our more shadowy Leo nature of our more egoic nature. Thinking I'll be happy, aligning with that being my truth. And there's some people in our life that is their truth. They align in their free will with their more worldly egoic nature, which can be, I have this way of living life, and I want to keep repeating this pattern. I don't want to step out of my comfort zone. I'm defensive to taking more creative, inspired action in my life. I want to keep doing this over and over and over. We'll never give birth to anything new. Other people, they're kind of maybe a little more immature, a little bit more about themselves, don't want to see the truth that they're a little bit more about themselves, and kind of want it to be more about them, and they're used to people kind of indulging them in that way. And if they're going to be in relationships with people, they want other people to make it a little bit more about them. Or they're more about being in a relationship more for the ego and the image and the status, and you should want to be in a relationship with them and stay in the relationship with them for those reasons. And if they have those, kind of look like a shining star in the world in some way, then you should be willing to indulge them. And some high vibe people are like, I can love you and I could view you as an attractive or charming or victorious or successful person in the world, but it's not enough. If it's not motivated and inspired by truth and love, that might be enough for you. And that might be your idea of the dream life and the dream relationship, but it's not my idea of the dream life and dream relationship. So you kind of got out of your ego about someone you wanted to have a dream come into reality because you realize you harness your Aquarius energy differently, and your Leo energy, and your Pisces energy, and your Cancer energy. In shadow, it can be people who use all their gifts in a shadowy way. I have my emotional nature, I have my sexual nature, I have my intellect, I have my words, I have my intuition. Some people use all those things in a shadowy way to try to manipulate people. Other people are who they say they are, and they're being authentic. And they want to be in relationships with other people who aren't trying to confuse them about the truth. And if you keep kind of loving and believing in yourself, those people can like being in a relationship with you because, again, you're loving and encouraging, and you're not acting out of more immature, petty, jealous, manipulative, prideful, egotistical like ways of being. So yeah, it's like great to be in a relationship with you. But they have a fear of change. And it could be more about, well, you're supposed to love them. And if you love them, and they could have people and things and whatever in their life that they love, and those things keep manipulating them, and they never, again, the Nine of Pentacles and high vibe energy is about being more independent and living your more authentic life. And they let their fear or their insecurity or their pride or their ego or other people or the world at large kind of make them live their life a certain way where they don't become more independent and live their authentic life. And they didn't think that you would love and believe in yourself to be more independent. But what they don't know about you is you were inspired to align with your more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and you look at life from a higher perspective. I think there's more to life than just making my life about me or codependency or status or ego or image or indulgence. I think there's a higher purpose to being on this planet. And some people could think, I don't get it. I don't understand. The world tells us we should make our life about these things, and that's what's important, and that's what makes us valuable, and that's what's most important. It's like, well, then live your life that way. Make it about those things. I just think it's about, because shadowy energy can be more about conforming to the world. If everybody kept repeating old patterns, we'd all still be cave people today. We were given our creative, inspired nature to all these things that human beings have imagined could be that they have manifested into reality. And that's why we're not cave people anymore. But some people are very defensive to living their more authentic life. And even though there could be things about the way they live their life that have them imprisoned, instead of working through their mental conflict, they just decide, well, this is okay, this is good. We'll just keep doing things the way we've been doing it. Might I feel a little betrayed that other people are more bold and brave and confident to shine their authentic light and live their more authentic life? But that's just not where they're at. And they may never be there to really kind of step into the spotlight of their own life and stand up for their truth of what they think is just and fair. Well, the rest of the world or the people in my friend group or my family group says you shouldn't do that and you shouldn't dress like that or you shouldn't act like that. High vibe people aren't trying to cause anybody inner conflict, but a lot of other people can have a lot of unwritten rules in their head of you should do this and you shouldn't do that and you should talk to these people and not these people and you should do this every week and not do that every week. What would people think? And it's all about trying to have a certain image or status in the world. So fearful. Do people view me a certain way? Shadowy Libra can be, I have this public politician persona and I need to have everybody view me a certain way and I need to have, people like me and love me and want, and that can be where they're not even living their authentic truth. And it's like, well, you make your life about that. I'm going to go live my authentic truth. So I think as high vibe people are moving forward in that way, yeah, it's going to cause some other people some problems. Why aren't you playing the game? Why aren't you living life like we live it? Why aren't you imprisoned by the things that imprison us? Why aren't you acting this way and that way? That's how we act. And we might take action more out of fear and insecurity and pride and ego and defensiveness. Because I kind of worked through some of those issues, some of those things that still manipulate you don't manipulate me. And I've chosen to align with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature and accept that I can't change other people. And I'm going to let you be you. And some people are mad about that because, like, oh my God, you were supposed to be heartbroken. If I repeated some shadowy ways of being and I was defensive to you, you were supposed to. I was happy when you were in a mental prison and heartbroken. Because again, shadowy energy can be trying to feed off of other people's energy. This makes me feel powerful. I'm going to throw you under the bus. I'm going to kick you to the curb. I'm going to be unjust and unfair and unkind. Oh my God, I'm like so powerful. But it's a false sense of empowerment. Because when other people work through people being unkind and unjust and unfair, and they move on because they see the truth of who they are, then it's like the balloon of ego falls back to the ground and they need to go find someone else to try to get up in their head and be hurtful and unkind or snobby or rude to build up their ego of how powerful they are. And you're not one of the people that they can try to build their ego off of. I'll let you go invest in someone else and do that with them. And there's some people that were like that you have cut out of your life. And they're not people you see as anybody you want to invest in anymore or have new beginnings with. And some of those people see that you've seen the truth. You're no longer an illusion about who they are. What's coming up? And other people see that you see the truth. They know you could act in these more immature, prideful, egotistical, defensive, whatever ways of being. And they see that you're not. And you're taking action in truth and love and being authentic. And some of those people then are having to do this work within themselves to be in a relationship with someone that is more just and fair and truthful and authentic and loving. And some of those people will come to be in relationship with you, and the people that are in your life that are currently working together with you in that way are standing up and defending you just like you're standing up and defending them. And then there's other people that it's like, I could hang out with these people, or if I were to work through my fears and insecurities or defensiveness or whatever, I could work with other people who are inspired to believe in themselves and believe in their dreams, who are loving and encouraging to me. But I, in turn, have to be someone who is authentic and loving and encouraging. I have to kind of work through, if I had a way of living life that I thought and way of interacting with people that I maybe used to think was kind of just and fair, or being defensive to people, when are we going to realize that just because we've been in relationships with people in our past, maybe when we were children or growing up, that could have been more hurtful and unkind and unjust and unfair? Not everybody is that way, and other people aren't like other people in our life, and that they are people who are willing to work together with us. And some people are just defensive to seeing that truth. No, I've been hurt before. Nope, I've had other people. Nope, I'm going to keep acting from this more defensive way. It's like, okay, you do you. What's coming up for people that might harness a more shadowy, worldly Aquarius energy that they don't see coming? So in high vibe, your world is going to change because you've changed. And you're going to have these new beginnings in your life, more aligned with your more hopeful, believing spirit, working through past pain and heartbreak, being more inspired. And then as you do that, you're not the same person you were energetically. You are different. And there's going to be other people who notice that difference and see you as someone who's not in this more shadowy energy. What's coming up for the more worldly, shadowy people they might not see coming? The moon and karma. And the reason is because of the Ten of Pentacles. So the Ten of Pentacles can represent that for some people that they kind of have learned everything they've needed to learn from a certain phase of life, but they're kind of defensive and fearful of moving forward in life differently, because they would have to invest in aligning with their more hopeful, believing, creative, inspired nature than their more defensive, egoic nature, and they'd have to work through some of these issues from their past. And the Ten of Pentacles can represent that some people are kind of unbudging. Like, nope, I have this way of living life and viewing life. In order to kind of move forward in life differently, you'd have to kind of look and see what are some of the building blocks of my life, or ways of thinking or feeling or perceiving myself or perceiving the world or perceiving other people that I would maybe need to look at and maybe let go of. And the karma card is like the judgment card. Listen to my intuition and call judgment on some things in my life, and maybe my more worldly nature. Maybe I viewed life a certain way. The Ten of Pentacles is Virgo energy, just like the Nine of Pentacles. I had a way of living life and viewing life, and this is how I thought things were going to work out. And this is my long-term goal, but it could have been being more aligned with their more worldly view of life. And some people aren't ready to deal with the truth. The moon can talk about the fact that, we still have some fears that we need to work through, or issues from our past, or things we don't want to see the truth of about ourselves. And because of that, they're going to experience some consequences, just like we all do. And the whole thing is, if we go through a phase of life, and if we're willing to learn the lesson we were meant to learn from it, and part of that is learning to love ourselves, be a loving and encouraging and supportive person to ourselves, being our own best mother, father, coach voice. Or we can stay in the Page of Wands in more codependent energy. No, that's not my job. I'm going to get in a relationship with people. That's their job, to be loving and encouraging and supportive of me. That's how I view the dream life. And because that's how they view life, they're going to repeat that pattern, not wanting, in high vibe Aquarius energy, to look at life from a higher perspective. They have this idea of the dream life, or where it's just more about them and being able to manipulate people, or more for the status or the ego or the image. And they're going to go on that journey, and it's not really going to work out the way they want. Could they have a new beginning? Could they get in a relationship that looks like they got it going on in the world? Yeah, but they're not planting good seeds. You know, both people have to be planting good seeds to have a good harvest. But if they themselves are kind of unbudging, unwilling to be more authentic, lack some hope and faith and belief in themselves or in their dreams or in other people, they can always go have a new beginning, but they don't want to see the truth. And High Vibe Virgo is about seeing the truth. And because they don't want to see the truth, they have these things and ways of being or thinking or whatever that manipulate them. And eventually other people in their life will see the truth. And they'll call judgment on them. You know, after the Ten of Pentacles is the Ace of Pentacles or the Page of Pentacles. And the Page of Pentacles can be willing to be a student of life, willing to let go of an old foundation, an old way of living life, just like we let go of being like a 15-year-old to be like an 18-year-old. But some of these people have this way of viewing life, and they're not willing to be a student of life. Kind of like, I refuse to get out of my ego nature, maybe even admit, maybe I have some healing, growing, or maturing to do. Or maybe I am just more about me. Or maybe I do get in relationships more for these other reasons, but I don't want to see the truth of it. Well, other people are going to see the truth of it. And if they're not willing, if they try to get in relationships with people who are more just and fair and loving, those people are going to see the truth of it. Otherwise, they're going to get in a relationship with someone who is kind of more motivated and inspired by the same things they are. It doesn't have to be the same thing. It could be different things, but there's like an ulterior purpose other than love. And as they go through that experience, they'll feel betrayed. And it's all to try to get them to see the truth of whatever they don't want to see the truth of. But if they're more about ego and image or money and materialism, you know, if there's someone in their life who might be deceptive, manipulative, immature, hurtful, unkind, they could be willing to stay in it anyway, just because it has the stability or the security or the status or the image that they want. And that ultimately is what can be more important to them than, and that's where we can all be tempted in that. And that's why other people who've went through this, you can have, that's what some shadowy people are counting on. That because you want a family, because you want to be in a relationship, because you want a job, because you want a certain paycheck, that even though if people are hurtful and unkind, deceptive, manipulative, bossy, controlling, secretive, defensive, that you'll stay in it anyway because you're more tempted by these things of the world than to love and believe in yourself to say no. And some people could get themselves in some relationships that have them in a mental prison, and they could be heartbroken. You know, it's just like anything that we can give too much importance in our life. You know, the devil can represent all these things that kind of get a stranglehold on us. If it's indulging the pentacles, earthly things, some people like, no, I'm sure the way to make me feel better, I'm going to indulge in drugs and alcohol. Well, that can drive your whole life off into the ditch. It stops you from investing in your dreams. Could cause a lot of mental conflict and a lot of inner conflict because, well, I want to indulge in this, but I want to have this happen, but because of this. And, you know, the same thing can happen with people like, well, I want this certain status or image, or I want it to be more about me, or it's just not a more balanced relationship. It creates the illusion in the world that judgment has gone in their favor, but it might not be the truth of what they really wanted to invest in. But because it looks good by worldly standards, they're willing to stay in it, and other people weren't willing to settle for the illusion. And those people might not have all the status or the image or the whatever, but those things were never more important to those people. When is enough enough? When is the fact that I can live my more authentic life, that I can be more independent, that I am spending my time and energy and effort with people who are more just and fair and loving? You know, things that are priceless, that you can't put a price tag on, that might not look like I'm living the life or living the dream, but I have people in my life who are being truthful and honest and loving and encouraging and supportive, and you can't buy that. And I got over feeling betrayed, and I'm inspired to believe in myself, and I'm inspired to work with the people that I work with, and instead of the other people who are like, could be like, God, I hate working with these people, and gee, I wish I could get out of this relationship maybe. Oh my gosh, these people are so manipulative or deceptive. But because of the status or the ego or the image, they're still willing to hang out with those people for those reasons, or stay in that job where they feel like it's torture every day to work with those people. You know, it's like, no way, man. I'm going to go find a different job, a different friendship, a different relationship. And the people who want to keep staying in those things or hanging around those people, that's your free will choice. But I can't hide the truth. And I'm not willing to stay in it for these reasons. And everybody has to make that decision for themselves. So there you go, Aquarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.